Our next open reader is Bruce Harding.
This reading from tonight is Monsieur Test Day in America, in other instances of realism, by Andre Kudryavtsev. It's a short story, and he travels around the country with this Monsieur Test Day, and he delivers a meal, lunch it is. And just read a little brief introduction. American poetry came to lunch today. Many poets were missing, but I made do with the ones that were there. So he has an entree. New poetry movements. I am an expert in these because I have made up most of them. Act Up, Metabolism, the Bowel Movement, and Syllogism. All have me as one of their founders. I have also furthered actualism, essentialism, and infantilism. American poets, with their pragmatic sense of craft and their ferocious drive toward respectability, are afraid of labels. This is because labels traditionally have been put on them by critics. So at some point in American poetry there began a race to elude critics. The widest range of cultural eclecticism was brought into play in every poem in order that the poet place himself or herself beyond criticism. The exceptions to this are the conceptually inclined to paste on their own labels and elaborate their philosophy at leisure. See Isidore Izo's letterism through Aram Saroyan's minimalism. Soup. Pure meaninglessness does not exist, only misdirected intentions. Nobody has yet written a perfectly obscure poem. Sit down, Clark Coolidge. Is it because nobody has yet committed a perfectly arbitrary act? I would think that a complete student of the abstract does not exist either, because he or she would have a body, hence a cliche. In the form of a body, everybody inhabits a cliche. The question, naturally, is the universe arbitrary? And the answer, depending on your prejudices, commits you to a cliche. But nothing can stop you from reshuffling it, regardless of point of view. Pate de Foie Gras, Ted Berrigan and Tom Veitch. Ted Berrigan, who has dada and is basically innocent, reshuffles the language we speak every day in order to present himself to us disguised as us, but from an unexpected angle, that of hearing our own words in his mouth on a page cut in talk patterns. Tom Veitch, who has God and is essentially anxious, reshuffles concepts like death, love, and sex in order that they leave their conceptual skins to throw us into fits of self-examination. Tom uses a lofty and aristocratic place from which things are small enough to be manipulated, but big enough to scare the wits out of us. Ted, on the contrary, is possessed by one instrument, his voice. Ted is a purer writer than Tom because the philosophy of the situation only interests him if it is incomplete, i.e. human. Tom reaches for harmony with higher forces and is, in this sense, a magician. Purity, one sees, is really the degree of dedication to one's obsession. Ted is obsessed with voice, Tom with God, and each of them does it by shifting things out of their conventional places. Gravy. I see reality through a grid. Each little square in the grid is an action, preceded by don't. Outside the grid is the world of do. So if I were looking in from the outside, I would be so busy I wouldn't even perceive the grid, hence no poems. A medium-sized suckling pig with an apple in his mouth. There are poets with a distaste for reality. These poets are insane, meaning that they have no defined territory toward which to reshuffle their world. So they wander through their imaginations and bring out things that, on first sight, nobody has ever seen. These poets have to be intelligent, however, and if they are, they usually notice that what they brought back resembles some quite common thing that everybody sees every day. At this point, they form a method by bringing intelligence to bear on romanticism. These poets have no style. They are mechanics of celestial pornography. Michael Brownstein is one of these. I have never seen anything of his in which a subtle apology isn't made to some secret search. All his works say, "Look, I am sorry, dear God, but as I was coming through the stratosphere, half of you burned up. So I put a shoe in the missing place." John Ashbery does the same thing, but he keeps his terms abstract. This is a terrible disadvantage because abstracts tend to make one re-examine one's shakiest assumptions. And if this were done, it would take 12 years to correctly read a John Ashbery poem. Steaming spuds. The search for meaning is an instinct, especially if the poem suggests that meaning should occur. But no poem, as said before, can help but suggest it, because language is a machine of control. The language of poets like Brownstein and Ashbery is, usually, international. The Surrealists were of the same mind and ended up creating the first international poetry idiom. Fruit. Peaches, melons, and blackberries. It is a monument to the stupidity of American criticism that all references to the New York School have, so far, spoken of the collective voice, when, in truth, it is precisely the New York School that has brought the largest number of methods, attitudes, and trends into a scene dominated by uniformity and boredom. There are at least 15 poets in this set who embody essentially 15 major philosophies. Drugs, cocaine, yoga, and pot. The political, literal, sexual waterfall of Anne Waldman, John Giorno, Tom Clark, and Louis McAdams. In this case, the personalities of the poets are in constant demand, and the steady intensity becomes a special therapy, models of which could be made and sold at political conventions. Napoleons, rumbabas, eclairs, and baklava. Informational accumulation in one of the massive collapse of the senses. Peter Schiebel's monomaniacal recording of dreams, Scott's Cohen fascination with large statistics, Alice Notley's collection of bizarre colors and rare flowers, Kenneth Cox's lyrical efforts to eat the vocabulary, etc. Cigars, Aram Saroyan and Joyce Holland, minimalism and essentialism. Coffee, the wonder world of Joe Bernard. This is the look what I found school and is uniquely American. Honey, a school of cultural refinement organized around obscure but exciting quarrels with all kinds of Alexandrian poses, eclectic decadence, and transcendental irony. Transcendental irony is, naturally, the opposite of bourgeois or proletarian irony. It is irony with the superior term in another world. Tony Towell, Carter Radcliffe, Ron Padgett sometimes, Kenwood Elmsley, Bill Berkser. A final joint. None of these exist in a pure state. See Dick Gallup. Whipped cream. There is a lot more. Some resident critics would now be in order. Poets, as a rule, see themselves as defined by their works, and the critical intelligence brought to bear on their contemporaries is almost always oral. America is, however, in great need of some new directions, and a translation of these poetries into easy-to-follow computer programs could conceivably save the world 100 years of sterility. That's Andrei Kudryavsky, Monster Testing in America.